There we go. Hello. Listen, are you a midlife woman and you have checked the boxes of life, right? You've done all the things, you're super successful. And in checking your boxes of things like maybe a home and maybe a partner, maybe some children, but a career or business, you've done all these things. And maybe what you forgot was to leave your own box somewhere on that list. And if that's you and you relate to kind of maybe leaving yourself for dead last and not always making yourself the priority that you could be, then hi, welcome in. My name is Jen. I'm the founder and owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness. I'm a transformational midlife women's coach. And what I love to do is help women get clarity in midlife about how to revolutionize their experience of it. And one way is to commit to yourself, which I'm going to talk about in a minute with my dear friend. And so we're going to introduce you to Laurel. She's like, hey. And so we will get there in a moment. But what I want you to know is about what I do and how I work. And really what I do is specialize in purpose and helping women uncover the layers of midlife so that you can step fully into the space that you are where you are now. Because where you started back when, your value set, your purpose has probably morphed and changed over the years. And have you even taken the moment to really get to know that about yourself again? So I want to invite you into that awareness. And that's what I do. I help women get clarity in that space and revolutionize their experience of midlife based on my foundation in clinical social work of over 20 years. And then adding in all my favorite healing modalities, put that all together. You've got to choose your own adventure style of coaching and mentoring that I offer to all my ladies. So that is who I am. And I wanted to come in today and talk with Laurel. So Laurel is one of my besties, and she is also a wonderful collaborator of mine. And what we're going to do today is talk about, we had a really awesome workshop yesterday evening. It was so good. I'm still today like, I always know when something like it just hits just right because I'm still buzzing the next day. And so I wanted Laurel to come in and just kind of talk about our journey yesterday, and let you have some insight into the backside of that and what we're passionate about and some of what we talked about, our favorite takeaways. And also, do know you can make comments with StreamYard. Sometimes I know it's funny. You might have to ask for permission or something, but please feel free to comment. We would love to hear from you. If you've got any questions or thoughts for us, please shout out. We love that. Let us know if you're here. We are grateful to have anybody kind of come and hang out with us. So Laurel, thank you so much for being here. Your beautiful face 2 days in a row. I don't have to do my so I would love to hear you say, hey, Angel, how are you? Yay. I'm so glad. Thank you, Angel. I'm so glad you were there and I'm glad you enjoyed it. If you were there and want to pop in, please, obviously, like Angel, like let us know. I was going to say, it was an awesome event, but then Laurel and I are wholly biased and love each other. So we have so much fun. We're like, are we working now? Are we? So I always think it's amazing to hang out with her. So Laurel, would you introduce yourself to us a little bit? Give us a little bit. It's nice for people who are unfamiliar with you to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll talk about the event.
So yes, hello, my name is Laurel Huston. I work with high-achieving women who are wanting a luxurious life, who want to change their relationship with their body, prosperity, and intimacy. And so I love when people are like, so tell me what you do. I'm like, I teach about body, sex, and money. What do you do?
I'm here for that.
The conversation just kind of flows from there. But I love, because for me, that was something that I had to relearn and really discover all of those things for myself and decide like what programming do I want to keep and what programming do I want to just completely be done with. Yeah. And the reason that Jen and I really kind of clicked was because as we were talking about the healing journey that we wanted women to go on, our core behind both of it is we want women to know and understand that they are powerful, that they are enough, that they have always been enough. I say to people all of the time, because women have a lot of thoughts about if I do enough, I'll finally be enough. Mm-hmm. And we, that was one of the big things we talked about last night is you can do less and still be enough. Your tasks, your experiences are not what define you. They're just things that are part of your life experience. That's why they're called experiences, because they give you experience. They don't make you who you are. Exactly. And so we just had a really good time last night. And so after the call, we were like, you need to get on and just tell people what an amazing call this was. And when you're like, oh, we're kind of biased, I got off the call and my husband was like, so how did it go? And I went, it was me and Jen. It was amazing.
Awesome. That was me with Zach. I was like, it was so good. Oh my God. He's like, it's like 11 o'clock at night and I come in like blazing like a unicorn. Like he's like, wow. He's like, good. He's like wrecked. He's all exhausted. Bags. I'm like, it was amazing. I'm exhausted. Anyway, exactly. Exactly. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us last night. Thank you so much. We're so glad that everybody was there. It was so fun. It seriously was. Laurel, so last night we shared about committing to yourself, and really, so the name was clearly a play, right? So we said commitment issues, and what we really meant was, do you struggle to commit to you? Because that's a problem. Most women that I know, particularly in midlife, are so busy loving up other people, their businesses, their career paths, and they really do rank somewhere really low on their list sometimes, right? And so we really wanted women to open their eyes to this experience of recommitting, right, to yourself. And what does that look and mean? Did you have any favorite takeaways last night, Laura? What was something, I mean, was there something different, fun, or a nugget, juicy, something beautiful that you were like, this was a really fun conversation to have, or a space where we really saw the women were like, yep.
So many.
I know. But go ahead.
So probably
you tell us.
I would say probably one of the things, like I would actually, those of you who were there last night, what were your favorite parts? For me, one of the favorite things, it was a little bit of a squirrel that I went on. Squirrel. But we were talking about exactly what you just said. Like, women are so used to giving of everything else. Right. And you brought up the analogy of you can't give from an empty cup. And I was like, I'm going to interject here for just a minute.
I'm so sick of that anyway.
Everyone says you can't give from an empty cup. And here was my takeaway that I shared. Stop filling your cup just so you can empty it. Right. That isn't any better than giving from an empty cup. And so my whole point was, if you keep yourself filled to the brim and in overflow, it's easy to give. Because you're giving overflow. You're never actually depleting yourself. And here's something I didn't say last night, but it keeps coming to my mind tonight. When you are giving from an empty cup, you're actually creating debt or lack.
Oh, for depletion.
If I don't have a strawberry to give you, but I say, sure, I can give you a strawberry. And then I offer you an empty hand. That is not being generous. That is me lying to you and telling you what I think you want to hear.
Exactly.
And yet we do this energetically. We do this emotionally. We do this in intimacy. We do this all the time, and we praise ourselves for it. And we're like, I'm so depleted right now. I'm so busy.
No, that's so well said. And I think where you went, that my brain went, and of course you said it, was energy, which I think is, if you want to imagine as a woman, and I just had this realization today, I happened to make a note for us on the retreat about some wonderful thing that came in today. But which is really,
Ben and I are planning a retreat.
We might be so excited about it. But so I was thinking about, in my early life, it was interesting how many people were intimidated by me. And so roll with me for a second. They were intimidated by me. And I thought, I'm like, nice. It's not like I was out there like bitch slapping people and being unkind and feisty with people with unnecessary whatever. And then I realized, okay, but think about the state of your being at that time and how much you had going on. So internally, when you have a barrier of some kind, everyone around you feels that energy, even if you are not aware that someone is sensing in you. So what it took me today, many years old, to kind of go, that's what it was. And so I want you to imagine that, much like what Laurel's saying, is if that space is empty and you go out and you're like, oh, guess what that feels like to the people around you? Kind of empty. So even when you think you're being a rock star, and this is not me picking on you, it's not trying to be generous, I want you to have another way to look at this and think about it, is that people around you are experiencing not just your words and actions, your actual energy precedes you. So something to be thinking about as a woman is okay, how do I want to be received? Not only what do I want for myself in my life, but how do I want to be received by others? Because if I show up and I'm like that has a feel. It has a feel to it, right? You don't necessarily feel as available. You don't necessarily feel as present. And it's not an unkindness, but if I can flip that script for you and have you go, oh, so when I take care of myself, and give us the phrase from last night.
It doesn't work for me.
We do not want me to try to do the phrase. Last night I was like, the thing we said last night, I was doing midlife brain and it was like charades. And I was like, it's like a sentence long. It's like 10 words and it sounds like this. What was it again? Because it was such a beautiful, sorry, what was
I'm just going to find it so that we.
She's like, here she is looking. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. I want it to sound as good as it did because it was beautiful. So I'm gonna let her do that.
And it really is. So one of the, what we said was you can only love, care for, and honor others at the level you care for yourself. And this is why the commitment issues was so important, because when you are always looking for someone else to fill you, you are dependent on other people to feel whole and complete.
Exactly.
And so that was another big, just to remind women, no matter what your health is right now, your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health, you have a mind, a body, and a spirit. You are whole and complete. You may just be wounded. And that's why we're here to heal.
I love it. And you just said mind, body, spirit, layers.
But, okay. So,
I mean, right. So I was like, you just naturally
layers.
And Angel, I see your question. Let me circle back, sweetheart, because I will answer your question. We will answer your question in a second. This is so pivotal to me as well, is one of the coaching modalities that I use. And the thing I think I took away from so many years of psychotherapy was that when we can imagine ourselves as made up of layers, we also come to understand that we want to heal and take care of ourselves in layers. So having skills, tools, practices that then go in and attend to the different layers of who you are, really important. I will also be talking about, so juicy, midlife developmental pieces in a little bit. We host a really wonderful event coming up in a little while. I'm going to be introing that for the first time there, so that we start to really deepen and lengthen and understand midlife a little bit differently, because if you're a nerd, you might not be, you're probably not. Listen, lean in for a second. So for those of us that have studied psychology, Erickson created a developmental approach to looking at how we grow and develop. Now, mostly his emphasis, understandably, was in childhood. And then you get to adulthood, and midlife is like 26 to 54, one stage. I was like, that's missing something. So what it inspired in me was, let's go take a look more deeply at the layers of development that are actually unfolding in midlife, so that we have a different understanding and awareness of that. So that will be forthcoming in a little bit. But again, even that's in layers, right? So this is a way to think about how we approach our wellness differently than maybe we ever did. And what I saw in my office, and this is where it translates, was the clients that were coming to therapy and maybe attended yoga and maybe did some meditation, the people that started layering in services, not just for me, because I'm not the guru, right? They started adding in services, healed more effectively and more completely. And I was like, okay, there's something to this really early on. So I was always encouraging clients to tap into different resources so that they're having a really comprehensive healing and experience. So that's how I coach. It's how I see the world. It's in everything. So we talked a lot yesterday about the layers. And so that's something that I think is really important as well, I'll just fill that in case anybody's new here and doesn't know us and what we're speaking about.
Well, and one of the things that you brought up with that, when you were talking about the layers, is that, and I feel like we do this, we will try to fill holes. And so when we look at ourselves as a sieve, it's like, oh, I need to focus on my mindset. So then we get like bullseye focused on mindset, and our health, our physical health goes to crap, and our spiritual health goes to crap. Exactly. So then we're like, oh no, my body's falling apart. Now I need to focus on my health. Right. So then we stop paying attention to our mental health, and we stop paying attention to our spiritual connection. So then we get our body healthy again, and we're like, I want to connect to source, God, universe, whatever your word is. Exactly. And all of a sudden it's like, no, a person is a mind, a body, and a spirit. And when you work on all three at the same time, simultaneously, all those layers get to heal at the same time. And that was because as we say this, everyone's question is usually like, how? What do we do? And that's what we went into last night. And it was, and the thing is it's so simple, yet it's so forgotten. Before we got on, Jen and I were talking about, my children are still fairly young. And so we were talking about, if young moms actually need to hear this more than anybody else, because as a young mom, you're like, I have to give and everyone's dependent upon me. And part of you is like, hell yeah, everyone's dependent on me. And then there's this other part of you, like, feed my ego. But then there's this other part of you that your soul is exhausted, your body is exhausted, your mind is exhausted. And instead of giving yourself that moment to commit to yourself, you shut off from yourself and you stop feeling. And so a lot of last night was getting you into that place where when you feel, you heal.
Yes.
And you can't commit to yourself if you don't know what that would feel like. So we did some work there about what would it actually feel like in your body to commit to yourself again and process through. Because for some people, it's really interesting to watch. If you watch the video, some of the people were like, I said, what does the word commitment mean to you? And half of them were like,
yeah, exactly.
one more responsibility.
Exactly.
And
one more box.
But then it was like, but what does it mean to commit to peace, to love, to joy, to relaxation? What does that actually feel like in your body? Don't think about it. Feel the texture, feel the sensation. And it was really beautiful to watch women literally on the call shift into a place of peace, shift into a place of relaxation. And it was after you talked about your layers, and it was really beautiful. That's probably, now that I've had a minute to think about it, that was probably my favorite. Because as you were talking about that, watching the women be like, oh, and literally shift their energy into that. That's really cool.
And it was really fun. I think for me, one of the things I really appreciate about presenting ever is experiential parts. For me, someone said at the end of the night, they were cracking jokes and they were like, Jen, this is a non-question question. Are you always this crazy and fun? And the answer was hard yes. No, I mean, not every single minute of every single day, but it was a sweet reflection that it was fun, right? And the truth is that I do think that it's so important to be not only really truly enjoying what you do, which is what I think makes Laurel and I so fun, is that we both really enjoy, honestly, and with full transparency, enjoy each other and respect each other. And there is something so magical about that. And I think that you and I both have a really strong foundation, and we want women to be able to experience something. So we did meditation, we did breath work, we did some grounding. It was really neat to like, okay, so what does it feel like? What was the word that we were having them embody a word? Pick a word.
They each chose one, just a word that they wanted to embody. Anything from enchanting, brave.
It was so good.
Happy.
It was so good. And so again, what you're doing is you can see, thank you, whoever a Facebook user is talking to us always has his Facebook user. Whoever you are, if you want to put your name in, thank you so much for being sweet. But I really do want to say that I think that that's a piece of it as well, is that the way that Laurel and I both teach is we want you to be having an experience. We want you to walk away, not just having something here.
Yeah.
And very often in my office as a therapist, I worked abundantly with trauma. It was one of my specialties. And what I would often say to people is trauma is sort of like having an experience here. Oh, Deb, love you. Oh, you're so cute. Right. It's having an experience here and not being able to receive it here. And very often, actually, it's the two halves of your brain that can't talk. But I like talking here and here because someone can say to me something from here, but if I can't experience it here, it's not integrating. Right. So I'm big, as I've aged, into integration.
So last night was a lot of in the moment integration. It wasn't like, we don't want you to wait until this is over and then put things into practice. It was like, no, we're going to have these shifts and these changes right now, because women only create or only receive information because they either want transformation or connection. And the only reason they want transformation is because they want deeper connection. Right. So the main drive behind most women's actions is because their thought is, how can I connect deeper to blank, to myself, to my children, to my spouse, to my neighbor, to my creator, we just want more connection.
Absolutely.
And last night's big takeaway was, if you want more connection, you have to first connect to yourself.
Exactly. And I said to people, if I said to you, this is one of my favorite questions. I wish I could take everybody's faces in at once. If I asked you if you could have a love affair with yourself.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And I wish I had been able to see people's faces, because I was busy teaching and like holding space, and I could feel there was this like, what do you mean?
I both love and hate that at the same moment.
You actually have an intimate relationship with yourself, and I don't just mean it the way that it sounds. can you actually love, honor, respect, and hold space for yourself in every way? And I think many of us have like parts of it that might be kind of functioning, but maybe not kind of pulled it all together in a beautiful package. And that's where I wanted women to go, is if you're in a space where you're still trying to uncover how to really fully love yourself, this is where we want you to start leaning in. And we want you to develop and deepen that awareness and love for yourself, because that is literally where things are going to come from. And what Laurel said at the very beginning, the more you have filled up, everything else is bonus. Everything else is bonus. And what a neat way to think about that, rather than this whole cup analogy, which I'm just like, because I get sick of hearing the same thing. I'm like, let's come up with a new analogy. But I love this idea of, can we come from a place of bonus? And that always starts with you. So I want to go in and just make sure, going deep in the layers, great convo, ladies. I'm guessing that was still Deb, who's amazing. And young moms, let me speak to something. I think this is really great. And I think that might be, I'm guessing this is Deb, who I know her daughter has a young child. You know, we identified last night as midlife, and I think it's really interesting, like even our upcoming event that we're going to be hosting, we've got several coming up. There's one that we'll mention at the end of our time today, a couple small ones, smaller events, and then a big one that's coming. But I think what's really interesting is we're speaking to every woman. Last night there were women in that space that were not in their midlife. So I opened Midlife Repurposed in Facebook, and I added some friends, and they were like, I'm not midlife. I'm like, take this for what it is. I'm not telling you you're midlife. What I am saying to you is, do you want to be ahead of the game?
Yeah.
I would be like, sign me up. I wish I'd had some of the wisdom. Does that make sense? And to me, I specialized in teens and young adults in my practice. I have zero hesitation working with anybody of any age, because really, truly, everything we're teaching might be a step or two ahead of kind of where you are. You're getting there, right? So it's like, to me, what I want women to think about when you're listening to Laurel and I is, it doesn't really matter what age you are. Young moms need this. Women in their 60s and 70s need this. There is no span of time where someone isn't going to find this particularly helpful. Young moms, like Laurel said, right? Laurel, what are your thoughts on that?
So exactly what you're saying, because that is some of at the very beginning, we did just a really quick awareness, because just a really quick quiz. And in that quiz, the sentences were in midlife. And I said, or my life, because the reality is that there are some of us, like my daughter is one of these. My daughter is 11 going on 92. I mean, she just has an old soul, and she has a healer's touch. She will instinctively walk up to people and touch them and then say, do you feel better now? And I'm like, who are you and how? And they're like, I do. Thank you. She's like, her energy is just pure love in the form of a small 90-year-old woman. And so and so it's like, she could be overhearing this conversation as an 11-year-old and be like, I do need to take time for myself.
Yeah.
And so, but then you have other women that are in there, because the majority of, I mean, my clientele base, I have women in their early 20s, fresh out of high school, all the way up to great grandmas.
Yep.
And it's so fascinating to hear, because regardless of the age or stage of life that they're in, you are never too old or too young to recommit to knowing, learning, and loving who you are.
Absolutely.
And it is a recommitment. It's not a one and done.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like in the personal development world, sometimes, this is a little bit of a soapbox, but I feel like in the personal development world, sometimes
you go.
we learn like a skill, and we're like, okay, I'm going to start doing positive affirmations, and I'm going to look at myself in the mirror, and for 3 days straight, I'm going to say, I am enough. And then 2 weeks from now, when some horrific person at the grocery store tells me I'm a bad mom because I told my child no, I'm going to forget those 3 days worth of affirmations, and I'm all of a sudden not enough anymore. And then I'm going to think I'm a failure because I was told by a guru that this would work. No, you have to keep doing it. You don't brush your teeth once and call it good. Like,
No.
but we have this, and especially where Jen and I are not surface people. If you haven't learned that so far, we really like the deep dive. We really like the solid conversations, the meaningful conversations, stop trying. I don't want to see your mask.
Exactly.
I want to see who you are and love who you are. And so when we do those deep dive conversations, it's really interesting because, and I'm sure you get this too, Jen, people say to me all the time, I don't cry in front of anyone. And every time I talk to you, I cry. It's because you feel safe enough to do so, because I am safe with my emotions. I do not apologize for crying. If I need to cry, there's clearly a reason, and I am not going to shame myself for crying. Right. And just like Jen talked about earlier, you feel that energy.
Yes.
I love myself. I've been presenting on stages for over 20 years, and I have yet to finish a presentation where students can actually approach me after the stage, and every single time I will have someone come up to me, and it's my favorite compliment, just so you know, and they will say, when you closed and you said, goodbye, I love you, Laurel, I really did feel that you loved me. Mm-hmm. And this is why. You feel the love I have for myself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's something that, so when I say, Jen, I love you.
You feel it.
Debbie, I love you.
Exactly.
Suzanne, I love you. And people are like, I really do believe you. Yes. Because I believe that I love myself. Mm-hmm. And so when I have my children or my husband and I say for days and days, oh my gosh, no one is listening to me, I then go, what part of me am I not listening to? Am I not listening to my body? Am I not going to sleep when my body says we're tired? Go to sleep. Am I not feeding myself in the way I need to feed myself? Is it my spirit? Do I need to do some soul care instead of just some self-care? Right. Is it my brain? Am I so in brain fog because I have so much going on? Like, if I feel like no one is listening to me, right, it's because I'm not listening to me. Right. So it was so, and it's interesting because there are all these things that I'm like, did I say that last night? I should have said that last night.
I know.
And I think that's why we were both feeling like we need to have an after
come back in. Yeah, exactly.
So what is the piece for you that you're like, ooh, we didn't talk about this last night, but we needed to. But last night they needed to hear everything that we heard in order to hear it today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like when you prepare a dish and you forgot salt, but you didn't realize you needed salt until you tasted it. And then you're like, oh, this needs salt. Mm-hmm. What did our conversation last night need?
I mean, I'm trying to think, because really where I go is, we talked about boundaries a lot, which was cool. Because I knew, and I'm going to be teaching a class on that next week, but it was cool the way that it landed in every layer of what we were talking about. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. It was like, just like, oh, perfect divine timing here. All the right things are coming in.
I'm kind of obsessed with boundaries.
Oh my God, same. I love getting my hands on people and doing boundary work. So good. So I love that. But I think, and also asking for what you need. So when I reflect boundaries, and I think asking for what you need is also important. So there's the self-knowing, there's the self-love, and then there's also, right, really intimate connection to yourself. I want to kind of, self-love is ambiguous. But what I do also think is that it also, a piece of it came down to women being able to ask for what they need and articulate that. And so I also don't want to negate. And I know that because Rome wasn't built in a day. It was a 3-hour workshop. I couldn't talk for like 24 hours. Yeah. You can't get to everything, but I do think that that's a space where learning the skill to also be aware for yourself what you need, and being willing and able to confidently ask for what you need to receive. And then in the step of that then is being a good receiver. Well, so what sounds very simple is actually like a really multi-layered place, because it sounds like, oh, I just asked for what I need. Okay, but then you've also got to receive it graciously with full enthusiasm, whatever it is that someone's going to give you. And so I think, to me, and we just didn't have time. That's a part that I also would want women to be able to lean into, is what are the skills and tools that I need to have handy, so that I also can continue to love myself by requesting and asking for what I need. So that, oh, you got to go, Deb. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to go up and love you, sweetheart. I'm going to go back and read your message about your girlfriend, because I saw it and I was like able to scan but not read it. I will share that in a second. So I just want to say that I think it's really important that there's multi-layered pieces to that journey, that last night's like one step for womankind. It's not like we were like, here, and you're good. It was like, here, and this is the very beginning, because that's foundation. So I would say one of the things that I would talk about with anyone is, you want to really think about what your foundation is built on.
Yeah.
Right. So in certain areas of the country, you can't, like, for example, New Orleans, their graves and their coffins sit on top of the ground because you can't. The water table's so high, they can't go underneath the earth. Right. So I want you to just imagine that you have to show up and understand what you're going to build your foundation in. And one of the first things that I'm teaching coaching clients to look at is your value set, because your value set is so pivotal. And in understanding layers of awareness and building that foundation on something really firm allows you to grow and transform, elevate, and integrate much more effectively. And so there's this sort of, not even a ladder, because I don't want it to sound like I have to do this step by step, but this awareness and growth in that form of the layers. And so that was a lot. What about you? Because that was like my
that was beautiful. And that is very much kind of to go along what you said is it's not a one and done. And if it but this is when for me, integration, like we said, has to be a full mind, body, spirit thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like when women start to reconnect with their physical body and they start to reconnect with their sensations and their emotions, they have the misconception that, oh, if I learn about emotion, I'll be less emotional.
Right.
And ladies, that is simply not true. I'm teaching you to feel more, but to feel without shame.
Right.
And so then when you do have your emotional days, you understand why. And it's an experience you're going through. It doesn't say anything about who you are.
Right. Right.
And that is
separate that. Yeah. Huge. Huge.
So I'm teaching you to feel more, not feel less.
Right.
And that is something that don't confuse being an emotional person with being an emotionally intelligent person.
Right. Right.
Those are different things. And so when you start to feel more and you start to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling, it is easier to recognize, I have committed to myself. Oh, wow, I just betrayed a commitment to myself. Oh, I'm now committed to this part of my healing. I'm now committed to this part of what I'm doing and growing and learning. And so it was just a really beautiful conversation. I do want to, because we've mentioned it just a little bit here and there, because we couldn't teach you everything you needed to teach in 3 hours. Jen has ongoing classes that we want to give you guys an opportunity to join. I have a class right now that you get instant access to on relationships. She has a 10-day amazing event coming up. Do you want to talk about that for just a minute, Jen?
Yeah, I do. And I want to say this before that, because as you were talking, I was like, oh, we should say this about you and I. There is nothing, and this is one of the things I think you and I have this exact same OCD, which makes me just like, mwah, love you even more. You and I don't do shit lightly.
No.
Meaning when we sat down to begin to collaborate and do events together, every single thing that we did is methodical
and intentional.
It's so intentional. And so, right. So what I really want you to lean into, if you're new or you're starting to get to know us or whatever, it is absolutely our foundational belief system that every single thing is being built. And so she and I are showing up from a space of where can we go to get you started and take a step, bite-sized piece, integration, bite-sized piece, integration. So when you hear us offering things, she and I laid out an entire year of stuff we're doing. So with the end result in mind. So we started all the way at the end, right? And we
have created such a beautiful year-long journey for you. You just don't know it yet.
Exactly. I say that it's because it's thought out. It wasn't something we threw together. We didn't slam together a workshop. We're like, one and done, great, everybody, good luck. Like we were like, this is where we start the journey together. And every single layer and every single piece is going to build and build and build for you. So I just want to say that about you and I, because I do think I love and honor and respect so much in your heart, that same thing in mine, that I never want a client experience to show up and feel accidental.
Oh,
Like
no.
we accidentally found something cool and we talked about it and we grew and we expanded. No, 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 no. There is an intention with every single thing that we do.
Yep.
How we do it, the way we say it, the way that we teach it, that is well thought out, because that's how Laurel and I love our clients and how we want to embrace and enhance women's lives. So it is not an accident how we do things. And we started all the way at the end and we worked your way back. You're welcome. Yep. You're welcome. Okay. So yes. So I wanted to say that because I think that that is something that it isn't that other people don't plan. I'm not dumb. I do think that you and I have such a passion. And you do have another thing to say about that before we talk about what's coming up. I just want to, okay. Because I'm like, guys, if you have something that you want to add to that. So just understand we are creating and curating a client experience for you in the way that she and I would want to have an experience. Mm-hmm. We are experiencing a retreat I would want to attend. My workshop, I said, if you and I were running this, I would go to it. If the boundary thing I'm hosting next, I will go to it. Why? Because I have crappy boundaries? No, because every single one of us needs a reminder. Some of us are still figuring that out, and some of us just need loving reminders, or we need to shift and shake it up in midlife. So that's kind of just so you have this overview, this umbrella of who Laurel and I are and how we're coming at serving the people that we work with. That's mindful, and because we love it that much. So that's just coming from that space. So next week, so building on our conversation last night, is boundary work is so pivotal. Mm-hmm. And so next Wednesday, I am teaching a boundary workshop. It is $22. The one after mine, I'm going to let Laurel speak to in a second, is also $22. We are trying to give you a week apart. So we had our workshop, then mine, then Laurel's. Then we've got some other things coming we'll talk about in a moment. It's layered, shocking, right? And so what we want to do next week is really take some time to brush up our skills on boundary setting. We're going to talk about the nuance of that. What's hard? How is it different in midlife versus younger life? Mm-hmm. And so it's really this embracing the experience, if you will, again, right? Both knowledge and experience. It's workshopping it. So I invite you to come in with your tough questions. I love them. Make it gritty for me. Make me work my ass off for you. I have been and continue to work on boundaries. As I was thinking about our retreat coming up, I was thinking about the story we tell. It made me cry this morning. I was like, think about the way that I've been through that journey myself in boundary setting, and that it's still hard. Mm-hmm. I would never sell you something. Laurel and I, neither one of us would ever sell you on something we were unwilling to do ourselves. Yep. We haven't done ourselves. We're not going to stand before you and tell you that we do or believe in something that we don't practice in some capacity, because that's how we want to show up. And so I was really thinking, like, wow, it has been a long journey for boundaries. And that's something that I want to bring forward to you is the nuts and bolts, but then also expanding in that of what does that look like and mean and feel like for you in your person and in your life. What does it look like? So that's next week. And then Laurel's going to follow up the following week. And my dear, tell people what they would get when they come to that workshop you're going to hold.
So the relationship mapping course is a 3-hour class. It is $22 as well. And it is specifically to help you rebuild trust in your relationships. It is there to help you because a lot of times when women are like, I don't know what I want, that's because you've completely detached from yourself. And so getting back into understanding what your desires are, what your passions are, and what it actually means to live a life tuned in and turned on. And I use that phrase because the opposite of tuned in and turned on is tuned out and turned off. Numb. Yeah, exactly. Numb, disconnected. Not like when you picture that, you're like, ooh, like you can just feel the difference between tuned in and turned on versus turned off and tuned out.
Exactly.
And so that is all about your relationships. It is, whether you are in a committed relationship or not, it is still full of valuable information, because everything that I teach you is applicable to your relationship with yourself as well.
Definitely. And one thing I think is interesting that you and I reflected on last night, and if you're listening and this sounds like a weird thing to say to a client, just lean in with me for a minute, because to your ears, if you first just hear it, we were saying how it's amazing that so many women show up and stay the course with us. Mm-hmm. And we were like, I feel like I repeat myself. And then we're like, but how many times? And I finally go to Laura and go, how many times in my therapy practice did I have to repeat something to someone?
Yep.
Not because someone's broken, damaged, can't figure it out, not smart, because it takes us that long to let things sink and settle, to redevelop a different way of being. And so we were laughing about that. We were like, duh, because it just takes us all time to recalibrate, if you will, who we are, how we show up to things, so that each time you come to something, you're learning something different. Does that make sense? So it's really like that. How weird is that? And how beautiful that in layers, as we evolve, we want to show back up to these things that sound so it's like, trust or boundaries. Like, I got that. Even when I ask people and they say they've got it, I'm willing to bet it's still not easy.
Yeah.
So right. And it's still not easy to always trust, love, honor yourself, and make sure that you're witnessing that for yourself. Right.
Well, and this will sound weird, but sometimes I like to go to classes so that I can go, look how far I've come.
And last night, how many women took the quiz we created and said, I'm actually doing better than I thought I was. I was like, that is amazing. Look at that. How cool to be starting from a place of actually feeling not depleted, having some skills. And now I can just brush that up. I can just continue to get better. And that's the one who said, I'm doing good, but I can always be better. Yeah. I was like, yeah. So I want you to think about these events in that light, perhaps, versus just like, oh, I know that. Like, trust me when I say I don't know that Laurel and I, either one of us, teach from like a really standard perspective. I think that you and I like to shake things up, and people are like, huh, right. I mean, right. So I do think that is what kind of makes us, right? See, I'm doing better than I was a year ago. Good for you. I freaking love that. Yep. So that's money, right? That's what we're getting at. And so because we learn in layers, because we evolve in layers, we want you to continue to tap into these places and understand this. And this is like a total soap, which I will not go into here. I promise you. When we say that it's an investment of $22 or whatever the investment is, understand, this is going to sound, I know it's going to sound backwards. You aren't actually investing in Laurel and I. No. Which I know it's like, but you're getting the money. Yep. Yep. We're getting the money. You're investing in yourself. Yep. If you're going to commit to yourself, one of the pieces of that is actually investing in yourself. I don't have a dollar amount in mind. If I told you, I am willing to bet you honestly, and if I sat down into the math formally, I am sure I've spent well over $100,000 investing in myself.
Oh, easily. Programs,
certifications, personal growth, retreats, all of it. I am certain I've spent well over $100,000 on myself. I don't regret one single dollar, not one. So I'm just saying that you don't have to spend that much. But what I am saying is that understand that what you're saying is you're making a commitment to you. Mm-hmm. When you sign up for something and you pay for a program, mentoring, all of that is actually a commitment, an energetic commitment to yourself. It isn't to us. We're grateful to be part of that. We're grateful to be part of your journey. It's not us. It's you.
Well, and that is part of the committing to yourself, because when you first start your journey, there are certain times where if there is no money in, like, how easy is it to not do something free? How easy is it to not show up to the free event? How easy is it to, I mean, how many of us have had a free trial? All you have to do is give us your email and you can have a 30-day free trial. And we're like, I'm not going to give you my email. So, and yet if someone's like, it's $4 and you're like, oh, there's value in it, then I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So what if it's not, there's value in the product, but I'm valuable and I'm worth taking care of. And the money creates a container. And that's why there are smaller prices and smaller containers. And there is a limit to the growth in those smaller containers. And that's why Jen and I really have throughout the year considered, we don't necessarily want to throw you in the middle of the ocean. We're like, oh, you don't know how to swim? Let's start in a kiddie pool.
Exactly. We're going to start here and help you. Exactly. Support, right?
We want you to feel safe and secure to take the next step. Absolutely. Because I feel like a lot of times if we don't have these huge monumental breakthrough shifts, we're like, it didn't do anything. Except those huge breakthrough monumental shifts very rarely stick with you for a really long time. It's the aha moments that make you go, well, that's doable.
Yes.
It's the aha moments that 2 years from now, you still remember that catchphrase and you still take action on it because it inspired you. You had an emotional reaction to it. Right. And that is really when you were saying, that is a lot behind when Jen and I were thinking about the things we wanted to do and the things that we wanted to offer, fully recognizing not everyone has $10,000, $12,000 extra to do whatever they want with.
Nope.
but you are worth investing in, and you get to decide the level of that. And the thing is the price doesn't determine your value. It helps you understand whether I invest $2, $200, or $2,000, I am worth investing in.
Exactly. Well said. And so thank you for bringing that kind of full circle. I think it's important. And I just want to say that piece because in this month when I was doing commit, one of the words in there is investment. When I redid the acronym, because I just see so many women taking care of so many things and really not necessarily pouring back into themselves that kind of investment. What were you going to say?
Oh, well, this is the thought that just came to me. So because I'm a business owner, for years, I could justify purchasing a course or working with a business mentor because I had an ROI. I had a return on investment. I knew I could make my money back if I got this certification or I did this thing. And so I wanted personal development. I wanted that growth. I wanted that inspiration. I wanted that connection. But I convinced myself that if it didn't better my business, it wasn't worth investing in. I wasn't worth investing in, but my business was. Yes. I am my business.
Exactly.
So the last 2 years, I have only invested in programs for my own growth. And my business has done better in the last 2 years. My husband and I literally just finished our taxes. We had a 500% increase.
That's like so amazing.
And I did not. And so it was like, no, I'm going to work on myself. And when I get myself in alignment, everything else aligns.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
That's where this is coming from.
And I think I just want to throw that out there so that if you're that woman that's sitting there and you're wondering about this, first of all, you're talking to two people that fully invest in themselves on the regular. Mm-hmm. We're not asking you to invest in something we wouldn't. And we see the value. You know, I think for me, what I've seen is that there's a ton of free stuff. And by all means, take advantage of the free stuff if you'll show up. The commitment, the energetic commitment to something, when you put a little game, if there's a little skin in the game, it's a different mentality. And I wish I wasn't saying that because I love free content. I offer a lot of free content. Laurel does as well. We both have a ton of free content out there already. And also, we value what we do. We see the value in it, right? We believe that it's worth your time and energy and even money to come and spend time because we have built a platform that we're so passionate about and we have seen people transform in, that we have a belief system about it. So I want you to think about it though, from that lens of you're investing in you. We're grateful to be participants. Absolutely. It's for you. Okay. So the next big event that we are going to be hosting together, and there will be more, certainly. So the next one is Redefining Midlife Mastery Course. It's going to be beautiful. I have literally found 8 people I hand chose. That sounds so snooty. 8 women who are literally fire in their wheelhouses, in their passion. They're going to bring the best information to you. We're going to be talking about style and fashion, literally radiating from outward inward, what's inside out. There we go. Annette Bono will be bringing that information to you. We've got Natalie Hurley, who's going to be talking about fitness and wellness in midlife. We have got Wendy Hill, who is incredible out of the UK, talking about hormones. Anyone want to talk about that for a second? And we've got Laurel coming in. I start the week, and then Laurel's coming in at the end with money mindset. I believe that's the first week. Second week, we're going to tap into finances. We've got Tina coming in, who's going to be talking about finances and wealth, a different view of wealth, which I love. I'm super passionate to hear her speak on that. We've got Teresa Heathwaring out of the UK. She's going to be talking about business in my life and how to have something that doesn't run you, but rather you run it, which I absolutely love. We have got Alyssa Adams talking about human design, which is brilliant. She's going to be talking about decision-making and how to help use kind of human design to do that. Laurel will be coming in with intimacy and desire towards the end of the week. Again, intentional, layering you in through some of the easier things in the beginning of the first week and a half. And then we're going to lean to something that's kind of juicy and maybe going to be a little bit comfortable. It's going to be beautiful. And then I end the week out with purpose. So we're going to be talking about midlife purpose. So it's all about revolutionizing midlife. And go ahead.
And there is a live question and answer on the Fridays of each of those weeks.
Yep.
So you get the content, and then on Friday, all of the speakers that spoke that week, we're all going to be on a panel. We're all going to be there to answer your questions. So this is a little bit different from a traditional summit or mastermind. It's here's the information, process it, ingest it, and then come get clarifying questions.
Exactly.
Immediately.
each day you will have something that's a video is going to come into your inbox, easy peasy, you watch at will. The reason we opted for that versus live, because all of us, I think, prefer, I mean, I love speaking live, so that's kind of my jam. However, we have people in the UK, we've got people funky hours. I'm like, how are we going to balance?
New Zealand, the Philippines.
Right. Like all over the world, and then tech goes off. And now everyone's sitting there waiting for material they can't access. And I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that. Sorry, everybody. So we decided to do it in a recorded video format. You will get that in your email each morning. You get to watch it at will. You're going to have 10 days when it's done to replay if you missed anything. And then like Laurel said, every Friday, you're going to be able to come in and every Friday, 2 Fridays, you're going to be able to come in and talk with a panel of speakers that were on the docket for that week, accessing these coaches and all their beautiful wisdom. In one fell swoop, which is really cool. We're also going to have a private Facebook community where you can like get to know us, hang out, be in community with other brave and brilliant women. And so that's kind of an extra bonus space as well. So that's how that is going to work. That's in the end of March and first week of April. And that will be an investment of $79. So that
do you have the link for that?
I sure do. And I'm going to go grab that right now. Thank you for staying. I will grab the link. If you're interested in that now, I'm going to lean into one more space because I know everybody's like, what? Here's the deal. Yes, we have spoken on the retreat, and Laurel and I will figure out when we're going to get to this because I know someone was like, when is the, like, how can I sign up? First of all, we're thrilled that you would like to sign up with us for the retreat. We do have a retreat we're hosting in outside. It's Hurricane, and it's outside of kind of St. George area, not very far from Zion National Park in Utah in October. It's going to be beautiful. First of all, the property, it's so bougie. All I can say is Laurel and I both really love luxury and we love providing services from that venue. And so I just want you to understand it is literally like, we do not yet have the page set up for you to sign up. We will get on that. We had big things we've been doing. As you can see, we've been hosting these workshops and events. There's been a lot of planning behind the scenes. We've already planned quite a bit of the retreat. We just haven't gotten our landing page and all that set up for you all to start kind of signing up. We will get to that.
This is how Jen and I think, though. First, we thought of the theme, and then we thought of the gifts, and then we thought of the content.
We can go backwards. It's so our style. Like, but what are we going to give to them when they get there? Yeah. So,
and food was in there sometime too.
Exactly. So that will be forthcoming. And so my apologies that we don't have something to drop in today. This is enough. My event coming up, Laurel's in 2 weeks. And then we've got this really brilliant redefining midlife mastery course coming up in the end of March. It is going to be brilliant. And I'm going to guarantee you're going to learn something with every single step you take with Laurel and I. And you will see. And I think this is an important point to make. And we have to like hang up soon because I've got a call at 1. I want to say, I hope you feel the energy between Laurel and I. There isn't any competition here.
No.
There are enough people in the world. Laurel has a wonderful following. I am blessed with a good following. This is about holding space for each other and seeing each other's genius and wanting other people to be able to experience that. I have no problem. I love being able to highlight brilliant women in my life. And that's part of that redefining midlife mastery course. Those women are freaking brilliant.
Yep.
I am not joking. And so to me, this is a real sense of sisterhood, is like, I see what Laurel brings to the world and I want to elevate her and her business. I really respect, honor, and hold space for that. And so there's something also about the energy that I think that she and I bring that helps create more sisterhood because we love each other that way. Like there's so much value and there's so much work we can do. And I love that we both have our own lanes, but also that we get to come together and share one. And there's nothing better than that. And I just want to leave that. So I don't know who Facebook user is, but you said we're both amazing. And thank you so much. Sorry. You see stuff in Facebook. You just show up as Facebook users. Whoever said that, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say to, this was so good. I'm like, we could talk for 4 hours. Is there anything else that you would like to add for today to kind of wrap us up?
Just lastly, if you are like, wait, what call are you talking about? What happened last night? You can still get the replay of that. Let me grab it. Is, if you are following us on Facebook, it's the Commitment Issues class. It is a free class. People will have access to that class until a week from last night. So on the 15th. So if that is something that you're like, what is this class you keep talking about? I want access to this class.
Yeah.
We would love for you to have access to that. Go sign up for it, register, watch it. It will, because the other reason why you want to register for the class is because the people who took the commitment issues class will hear about the retreat information first.
Exactly.
That email list will be given the retreat information first.
So participating in our things, like I said last night, the client was like, are you going to do another boundary workshop? Because I can't make next Wednesday. And I was like, oh, there'll be stuff coming. Get in my emails.
Yeah.
Get in my emails, because that's my people, the subscribers that Laurel and I have that are working with us are the first people to get access to any of that.
Yep.
So I would recommend that.
So, and plus it's 3 hours of Jen and I.
So much, but it's so good. No, it seriously was literally such a fun evening, and the ladies were so inspiring. And
the women last night were amazing.
It was amazing. And so to me, this is, I think, and I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I do feel very confident saying that you and I both, that is what lights our souls on freaking fire.
Absolutely.
That kind of experience, and watching women all of a sudden have this breakthrough, have an experience in their bodies, have a different lens. I literally love it so much. So Facebook user, has the replay been sent out? Can you tell us who you are?
Sorry.
Nope, you're good. Because so I know we added.
It is being processed right now.
It's being processed. So,
and because we have to get all of the links together, but it'll go out before end of today.
Yep. And I also made a meditation last night. I went in and made a really nice formal version of that. So you're actually going to have a really nice, that has music in the background. That's going to be in there. Connections to workshops, all that stuff is going to be in there. It will be coming. And so if you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. Thank you so much, Laurel, for taking time out of I was like, last night, I'm like, I know you're all exhausted, but do you want to come on live tomorrow? She's like, yes.
Sure.
So thank you so much for being here and introducing yourself to my people and vice versa.
Such a pleasure.
I love you so much. And I'm
you.
so grateful to be able to share this time and space with you. It is literally one of the greatest blessings of my entire life, for real. So I love you to pieces. So everyone go out and find Laurel if you haven't. Reflections Inside and Out is her company, her business. But she and I will be around. You will certainly see us back around here. And we hope to get to spend more time with you down the road. So take care, everybody, and have a really wonderful day.
Love you.
Love you.